How can we have regular, conscious contact with God? Let's find out. Hey, I'm Dan Sinclair, your host for the Whole Reason podcast. And today, in our series on spiritual disciplines, we're going to be talking about Lectio Divina. Lectio Divina is one of my favorite, really, it's the one I use in my everyday meditations in order to be changed and to experience God. This discipline historically is attributed to Saint Benedict, who started the Benedictine monasteries, and it really is an amazing way to study Scripture. So let's go understand it now. There's 4 steps in Lectio Divina, and in Latin, of course, they're Lectio, Meditatio, Oratio, and Contemplatio, right? Yeah, nobody really knows that. However, I've converted those into 4 verbs in English that start with the letter R, which make them easier to remember and do. And they are read, reflect, respond, and rest. What does it mean to read Scripture properly? Well, there's no improper way to read Scripture necessarily, as long as you're reading it. However, in this discipline, to read means to reread or to read multiple times. We're going to start getting it into our mind, and eventually we're going to work it into our heart and our soul. So in this first step, read, what I want you to do is find a paragraph, a section of Scripture that you're going to read. Now, some of us use the, read the Bible in a year method. I can't do that. It's too fast. And it's too much to read at one time, so I just like to slow down. I think once through in 5 years, like J. Vernon McGee used to do, is probably the best pace, if you ask me. So let's find our passage, and I want us to read it. And then while you're reading, I want you to look for passages that stick out to you or that spark your curiosity. And what I want you to do is take that one verse or that one sentence and write it down in your journal. Now, if you don't have a journal, I think you need to start one if you're going to be serious about spiritual disciplines. My favorite way to journal is actually, I use those cheap $1 black and white composition books. I've tried other methods, and now that's really just my favorite. It's very simple, it's friendly to use. So what you're going to do is you're going to choose your passage, you're going to write it down, and that's going to help get it into your memory, right? We're just trying to change our minds, and then we're going to work it into our hearts. It's going to be really fun. So let's choose like Psalm 23 as an example, right? The Lord is my shepherd. Let's just start with that one short phrase. Now we write that down, the Lord is my shepherd, the Lord. Now what you to do is reread it a few times and maybe change the emphases. Like, the Lord is my shepherd. Whoa, this isn't just some guru. This isn't some man. This is the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. What about the Lord is my shepherd? Is. Wow, that means not he used to be or he's gonna be, but right now he is my shepherd. Well, what about the Lord is my shepherd? Ooh, that shows some personal ownership, some intimacy, right? So I want you to start running it down and turning it over, and that's going to move us into the second step, which is reflect. How do you reflect on Scripture and get something out of it? Well, the way to do that is to read the passage slowly and turn it around like we've been doing, but then start interrogating the passage in your mind. What does this mean? How could this relate to the situations in my life? How would I explain this passage to someone else if they asked me, the Lord is my shepherd? I would say, well, it's like he's not my boss. It's not like he's my judge. It's like he's the one who takes care of me and feeds me and protects me. Right, so here we are, now we're moving into reflection. We're really trying to unpack what this metaphor means, in this case, what this passage means. And then you might want to even ask some weirder questions or harder questions, like what is hidden in here? What is in this passage but might not be obvious to others? Well, what are the things that a shepherd does? So we've already thought about that. So now here's where we're going to move into the third step, which is respond. How do you turn Scripture into prayer? This is really what we're going to do, is we're going to start praying this. I'm going to say, God, I need you to guide me. I need you to protect me. I need to hear from you because I feel lost sometimes. And I'm scared of what's happening in the world. I'm scared about my finances. I'm scared about my relationships, right? So here we're starting to pray. So we're moving from our head. Now, by the way, in the beginning of the reflection period, if you want to do intellectual study back in stage 2, you can. You can open up your commentaries or find them in Blue Letter Bible. You can use AI and go down the rabbit hole and say, what do the different philosophers or theologians think about this passage? Is there any controversy over this? And can you explain to me the different sides of it? So you can do an intellectual study, but we're going to come back now in this third step in respond, and we're going to turn it into prayer. Now this is where we then begin to listen. Now I'm a firm believer that to have real faith, to be regenerated and born again, means that you have to enter into a conversational relationship with God. Now, I don't hear anything audibly, but I do have these conversations in my mind. And of course, that begs the question, how do I know I'm really talking to God? And what happens when the signal gets muddy and I'm like, yeah, definitely I was talking to myself. You know what I mean? Is it my higher self? What is it? Well, that is something you have to learn to develop through practice, hearing the voice of God. And we'll talk in another podcast about how to clearly hear the voice of God, how to discern what's God and what's our polluted hearing. Because, in conversations, if I talk to someone from another culture, some of the things I say are not going to translate because I don't understand how they think and they don't understand how I think. And quite honestly, we do not know how God thinks. Even though he's a great communicator, we need to learn to hear God properly when he asks us to do things or tries to bring clarification or correction. All right, but what's happening is now I'm going to turn this prayer into, okay, I'm listening and I'm hearing God speak through the scriptures and in my heart and mind. And it's good to write those down. I personally put those in quotes in my Bible. Does that mean God said, and I'm going to tell everybody this is the new scripture? No. But this is God speaking to me. This is God transforming me. This is God renewing my perspective, renewing my mind so that I am free, so that I am liberated from dopiness. That's the technical term, dopiness. All right, well, what about the fourth step, rest? Why do we rush out of the presence of God? In this fourth step, if we have experienced God, if we've hit a vein where we feel like we're in the healing, loving, amazing presence of God, we're still kind of fallen, at least in our flesh, in our bodies, in our fallen nature that is being renewed day by day in our sanctification. But a lot of times we want to run away. And the thing is sometimes just sitting in the presence of God, in his presence without even speech, that transforms us. So a lot of times, instead of rushing out into our day, instead of rushing out of our time of prayer, we should wait. We should rest. We should rest in the knowledge we've gained, think about what we've learned about ourselves, about God, about the world, and enjoy the fruit of peace that comes with interaction with God and his word. All right, that's Lectio Divina. If you like this kind of content, hit like, hit, whatever, all the things they want you to push. That, I'm sure that helps me. I don't know, I'm a total noob at this. But now I want to talk about our recommended book. Well, today I'm going to be a little self-serving. My recommended book is actually Lectio Divina, the Bible study journal that I wrote. That's right, you can order it in the link in the bio or in the info down here. But I really, took my own personal discipline and put it into something beautiful. As you can see, there's pages. Every day has a kind of a saying of wisdom, either from scripture or from some great writers about meditation and prayer. And it's got all the sections in it: respond, reflect, read. And you can write down in here if you don't want to get one of those cheap journals or you don't have another journal. All right, so this is available. My wife uses it. She loves it. I think she's on her second one now. And that is our book for the day. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you come back for the next in our series.